Good evening. It is time for our daily, today is Wednesday, our daily Rise of the False Gods book study. And I am so glad that you are watching this whenever you're watching it. I'm glad I found a perfect time for me to go on live because I'm just much more relaxed than I tried to stick to a schedule in the middle of the day. I think I've come to realize I'm more like a night person. So I do better at night. I have better time to plan. So anyway, I am glad you are here with me. And tonight, as we discussed before, we are looking at fact versus fake. Did you have some time and energy to put in this past day since yesterday to look at truth and whether you could feel, whether you could sense whether something was true or not? Get that radar, get that spiritual, mental, emotional, intuitive sensing nature tuned into that which is true. So I hope you had an opportunity to do that and that you will be able to continue to apply it in your life. Today we are talking about another step in that. It's called fact versus fake. And if you're working with the book, you will see that it is on page 8 to a little bit of page 11. So we got a lot to cover, and I'll do the best to cover what I can. So we're going to start off with fake news. We hear that a lot. That is something that has only cropped up, in the past 4.5 to 5 years. Before, it's not that fake news didn't exist. It was that we acknowledged fake news and we didn't give it any room in our lives. Today, it's different. Now, back in the day, I would say anywhere between the 50s into the 70s, there were certain newspapers that we called rags. They were called trash rags because they were full of sensationalist stories of questionable origin. And we knew when we read them that they were probably just really nothing connected with truth at all. And so the papers that were most well known as being trash rags were the National Enquirer, Midnight, and the Star. Now the Star tried to have a little bit more class than the National Enquirer and Midnight. Midnight and the National, it was like nobody believed this stuff. They just read it because it was so quirky, Well, unfortunately, what's happened is today, things have switched around. And it's really bizarre that fake news bears more weight in people's minds as reality, while truth is looked askance at. I mean, seriously, let's talk about the coronavirus. A lot of people are anti-science. Why? It's inconvenient. I don't want to believe in that virus because that virus is keeping me home. It makes me wear a mask when I go out. It makes me social distance and I can't see the people I love and blah, 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 blah. Well, too bad. But science says these are the things we need to do if we want to eradicate the virus. Remember, the virus came to teach us. So instead of the virus being looked at as a real thing that science is exploring and working with and trying to understand and eradicate, people say it's a hoax. It's not real. There's nothing to it. And here's the thing. Whether we believe something is true or not, doesn't make it true or not. Truth is truth. It doesn't care, okay? Now, another big conspiracy theory has to do with climate change. You know, people say, oh, that's just a lot of crap. There's no such thing to it. Meanwhile, the very, very obvious effects that we have on our climate are being, you know, you can see it. You can see as the smog cleared and as the planet breathed and as the insects and animals and birds and butterflies all thrived. The planet was really enjoying it. The degree, I'm very concerned about my friends in Texas right now, and it looks, last time I looked, it looked like the hurricane might skirt away from them, which I certainly pray it does, because Houston, Southeast Houston, which is where I lived for a number of years when I served a Unity church there, and have lots of friends and loved ones and former congregation members, and cyber congregation members are still there. So Estella, Linda, all Kim, Damon, oh my goodness, all those folks out there that I do love out in Texas. I pray that you will be safe. But the hurricanes are getting more, and they are getting more frequent, and things are changing. And you can be a denier if you want, but truth is truth. If there's climate change, it's coming, whether we believe it or whether we don't. That's why it's so important to seek truth. I'm a truth seeker. I was a truth seeker since I was very young, and I'd hear something and I'd go, is that really true? And sometimes I found out it wasn't. And that doesn't mean that I don't have some beliefs that you may think are pretty weird. Divine intervention, reincarnation, the ability to speak to those who have passed on. Those are things I hold. But you know what? I don't just hold them because I hold them. I hold them because I investigated them. And I found out that I had enough evidence in what I saw, in what I read, in what I experienced, that yes, I do think these things are real. I'm not going to shove it down anybody's throat because everybody has to have their own truth. That doesn't change truth, because truth is absolute, eternal, and unchanging. How is it that we could even want to believe something that isn't true? I mean, why? Well, we do it all the time. That's when we make excuses and we ignore red flags. It happens like you can decide you're not going to spend any extra money. And next thing you know, a salesperson or your own lower nature has talked you into, you know, that ego can be mighty tricky. Maybe talked you into buying something that you didn't want to spend the money. Salespeople are very good at getting people to believe them. Did you know even the lighting in stores is set a certain way to encourage you to stay there and to shop? Did you ever wonder why there are no clocks in casinos? Nobody wants you to know how long you've been sitting there gambling. You got to pay attention to this. You know, during the campaigns in 2015-16, a company called Cambridge Analytica, if you still remember that, profiled us through our Facebook pages. And a few of the things they did is if you followed a quiz or if you looked at certain pages. Profiling is very common. It's not just something the police do. We all do it. We find out what people like, so we can either provide it or sell it to them or whatever. But what they did is they shoved things that person was inclined to read at them, things that directed the person in the way that they wanted them to think. It's called mind manipulation, and it happens every day. Like if you watch a commercial on TV and you see something that, oh my gosh, it looks so delicious. Experiment, okay? Watch a commercial for a burger joint. Look at that beautiful burger. Go to the burger joint, get your burger, unwrap it, and look at it. It does not look the same. Do you know why it looks so different? Oh, it's not because the other one was, wrapped up and squished in paper. It's because they do things. They put glycerins and chemicals and all kinds of things on the food to make it look more delicious. And those beautiful pictures of food you see, you could never eat that. You would die because of what they did to it to make it look good. But it looks better than it tastes. These are things we want to be smart about. So, in any event, we have been baited and we have been lured into doing things, thinking things, buying things. That's what a con is all about. A con man. They look for, or a con woman, they look for the things that you have a weakness for and play on that. That's like I was talking yesterday about the girl laying across the motorcycle, batting her eyes at the guys, like, oh yes, buy me and you buy the motorcycle and you'll get one of me. Yeah, right. Doesn't happen that way. Okay, so I want to go back to this. I make notes in the margins, and I got to go back and read them. When I said that people don't want to believe the truth, and why would they do that? It's basically because some people just don't want to be wrong. They're stubborn and they don't want to be wrong. Other people find what you're saying they don't like you, therefore they don't like anything you say. I've had that happen. And so we want to pay attention and to seek truth, and if we hear something, to follow it through. So back to Cambridge Analytica again. What they did also is bots and trolls multiplied the mind manipulating memes and articles to the people. They selectively put them out there. So think on that. Oh yeah. One of the things that really shocked me was when I was having a discussion with someone about whether a particular thing they had posted was true or false. And so what I do is I post, my validation for an article that says, no, this is what really happened. These are what they call the receipts. And she said to me, I don't care about your facts and I don't care about your research. That's scary, because if you want to have a happy and solid life and create a world that works for all, we must be aligned in truth, because anything that isn't aligned in truth is going to crumble and cause suffering. Okay? So that's the real essence of this fake or fact versus fake. Okay. Says, why might anyone want to buy lies? It would be like building a house on sand. Oh, I talked about that last night. We want to build our house. We want to build our life. We want to build our marriage. We want to build our finances on a strong foundation. The worst person that we can be fake with or lie to is ourself. And we do it a lot. We do it if we don't have enough confidence. You are a child of God. You are a blessed, beloved, intelligent, beautiful, amazing child of God. Every time that you let anything or anyone tell you you are less than that, that, my friend, is fake news. Don't let even your lower self, I make a joke about going into the mirror and being terrified because there was this old lady in the mirror looking back at me. That's fake news. I am still as beautiful as ever, whether even my lower self wants to believe it or not. A lot of times we lie about ourselves. It's fake news that we are dumb, that we are poor, that we are sickly, that we are less than. Sometimes we do fake news on ourselves as if we think we are better than someone else. I got that out of me real early because one of my mom's favorite things to say was, "Pride goeth before a fall." And I had a few moments of that pride going before a fall. I've had those times when I thought I was pretty smart and only to find out I was wrong. So I'm pretty careful before I declare fake news or factual information. If I'm stating a fact, I'm pretty darn sure I did all the research I needed. What have we lied about? What kind of fake news have we put out there, or fake information? Have we ever lied about our income to get a credit card? I didn't do that one because, well, I told you I have issues with lying. But so imagine that you say you make more money than you actually do so that you can get a credit card. Well, the truth of the matter is you don't have enough money to get that one more credit card. You lied about your ability to pay it. So what happens is, just because you lied about your ability to pay it doesn't mean you're going to be able to pay it. You can't. So therefore, in the end, you're going to get burned. And you'll never get to that credit rating that will get you what you want. Some people have lied about their age to get into a bar. There was a time, I don't know, about 3 decades ago when I was a bartender. Oh my gosh, it was more than 3 decades ago. I don't know, think about that. But I used to be a bartender. And I had to ask those people for their ID. And I had to look at that ID and make sure it was them. And one of the problems was, if someone came in and I was the bartender and I let them have a drink and they were not old enough to drink and they got in trouble, of course I would get in trouble. But what would be worse, if I gave someone drinks and they drank too much and they went out and got a car crash and killed somebody, yeah, legally they may or might not be able to charge the bartender, but that person would always carry it in their heart, what happened, because we know it was a negative thing. If you want positive results, you gotta put out positive action. I like to joke sometimes about, if we say something to our friend to call them out, if they're telling us stories, might we say, and they say, well, why do you care? Why do you care? I can say whatever I want. It's like someone's playing on the railroad tracks. They just, get off the tracks, you're going to get hurt. And they go, I don't care. You can't tell me what to do. And that's not a helpful thing. Our lower nature tends to lie to our higher nature because it's easier to live in lower consciousness than higher. For example, it's easier to indulge ourselves in whatever way we want than it is to self-discipline. So sometimes we lie because we don't want to practice self-discipline. I'm right there with the food. You know that one. We've talked about that before. You can't cheat. I have a friend who cheats when she plays games. And when you cheat, you don't really win. That's fake. You don't really win. In truth, you didn't win anything. Anytime you have to cheat to win, you didn't win. So I won't play with her. I don't want to be having to watch her to see if she's cheating or not. So my dad had a saying about that. Cheating proves. Cheating proves. We may think we got away with something, but sooner or later, the universe will call us on it. Because everything we send out comes back blessed and multiplied or cursed and multiplied. I don't mean like a woo-woo curse. I mean, when we send something out, the energy that's in it. If it's good energy, it's going to come back as good energy. If it's true energy, if it's bad energy, it's going to come back as bad or negative energy or experience. If you go around and you're in a real nasty mood, because everything in the universe is energy, you're sending off that vibration. And people that walk by you will actually feel it and feel like they want to repel you. That was off the track. That was not about truth and fact, and that was just a little side trip I took. Okay. Here's another thing about lying to ourselves or not being truthful. Each one of us was born, Tishy came out to visit, each one of us was born to serve a purpose in the world. We were born with gifts and talents to express. What did you want to be when you grew up? Are you doing it? Because if you're not doing it, you might want to think about, why are you doing what you're doing? If you've got a job because the money's good and you hate that job, not a good move. Because when we are expressing, you know what it means to be rich? You want to know what it means? If you are feeling less than because you don't have as much money or power or prominence as someone else, if that makes you think you're less than, you'll never be rich no matter how much money you've got. You'll never be powerful no matter what position you hold, because inside you have a lie that tells you you aren't that or you don't deserve that. I am so rich. I know I might not look rich to you. I live in a very humble abode that I love. And I've got a job that, working in a campground office and being a so-called semi-retired minister, that may not look like a job of importance or high value and power. But I will tell you something. Every day, I get up and I love to do my work. Whether I'm writing my novels or whether I'm doing a book, a class on my book with you or whatever I'm doing, I love it. I am content. So if you really want to be rich, see what you really need inside to be content. You may find you've been doing it all wrong, looking for and measuring yourself by the standards in this world. What other people think of you is fake news. If they don't think you're wonderful. If they think you're wonderful, well, of course it's not fake news, right? Okay. I want to tell you a story about me and about fact and fake, and this is not an easy story to tell, but I'm hoping that as I tell you this story, you will be able to relate maybe to something in your life. Maybe you'll be a little kinder to yourself. Maybe you'll know you're not alone. When I was first ordained, I was so excited and could not wait. And that was a truth, and it was an error at the same time. I could not wait for my first church. Bottom line, I should have waited. But anyway, I found a church. I interviewed at a few, and then I did this one church, and I interviewed, and And they seemed to like me, and I liked them, and everything seemed fine. I didn't look really deep because I wanted to have a church more than I wanted to take the time and put into what I needed to do to make sure it was a good fit. It wasn't a good fit. Before I arrived in the state where the church was, I had red flags. Spirit will throw you red flags. Remember when we talked yesterday about you will know the truth and the truth will set you free, and we did that little exercise about 1 and 1 is 3 and how you could cringe inside because you knew that wasn't true? That's how it felt when Spirit was sending me these red flags about going to this church. Well, I went, and within a month, I wished I had never gone there. It was not a good fit. We were really not theologically coming from the same place, and it was very painful. But that's not the bottom line of the story that I want to tell you. The bottom line is that I had a lot of time to think about it because we had a commitment. If you took a church, you made a commitment that you would be there for 2 years. And so I had to be there for 2 years. And in that time, I had a lot of opportunity to think about the mistakes I made. And I realized just as I wanted that church, I wanted to get into my first church so bad, I didn't look carefully enough and make sure it was a good match. I realized I did the same thing with my 2 failed marriages. I wanted to be married. I wanted to be married so bad it didn't matter that it wasn't a good match. I know that sounds crazy to you, and maybe you're way beyond me, but back then, you understand, I was married the first time at 19. I wasn't really old enough to be married, but I thought I was. Think of how smart you thought you were when you were 19 and how smart you think you are now. Yeah, chances are we've learned a thing or two. I'm trying so hard to get through this chapter and not go on too long, but I just wanted you to know that it is very important to pay attention, to look at truth, to look at things that work, and to look at the things in the world that don't work. There are 3 kinds of sense. There is common sense, which is a logical, rational way of thinking. There is nonsense. Nonsense are the things we think and say and do that really are not based in truth, and they are actually stupid when we think about them, if we think about them. And then there is uncommon sense. Uncommon sense is where metaphysics is. It is above, it is higher thinking that can look into the situation and see the metaphysics, see what is beyond the manifest experience, okay? There's just a few little false beliefs I want to toss out before I try to run off in a minute. First of all, you have to know violence breeds violence. That we are immersed in violence. We're immersed in violence in the television program, in all of that things. Violence is a cause. It can only breed more violence. More guns equal more death. I'm not saying nobody should have a gun. Okay, let's be real clear about this. I don't want to go around and grab everybody's gun. Guns, like anything else, have to be they have to be handled correctly. They have to be, frankly, I wish there were no guns, but there's guns. People like the guns. I'm not going to take them away, but they have to be used intelligently. There are, again, as there have been for the past number of months, violent protests in the streets. Violence breeds violence. And we must learn that that is going to be like a hamster in a wheel. It's going to get worse and worse until we stop it. So think about these things. Think about the things that you think are wrong in this world. And ask yourself, What is the truth of this situation? Whether it's arguing with your kids, being at a job you hate, watching the planet deteriorate in front of us because we're sapping it of every good thing it has. What is the truth behind that? Because I'm going to tell you something. The truth is blessings. It's showers of blessings, and it will give you good when you look for it, when you look for the reality, when you look for Mother Earth is a source of food and joy and beauty and everything good. We must take care of our mother. That's the truth. The truth is, the more we trash the planet, the more we live in trash. You want to live in a dump? I don't. So the truth of the matter is, if you don't want to live in a dump, don't make a dump. All right, I'm over time. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. I hope I didn't bore you to tears. And if you have any questions, put them down there in the comments. And I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day that we are going to look at who or what is God anyway. You think I know? You think you know? Check it out tomorrow. God bless and good night.